I think when we talk about addiction, our heads go to like hard drugs straight away. Believe it or not, the biggest killer and the biggest thing that's inhibiting a lot of people in Australia is alcohol. Is 80% of what we treat. We were 21 and 25, and that question was asked: how does someone own a hospital?
Most people are still clubbing at 25.
Yeah.
And you're wondering how you got to own a hospital. That's huge.
Like a pebble in the pond analogy, we throw this recovery pebble into the pond, and this ripple effect is really a lot bigger than you can see. The immediate people of your partner, your children, your immediate family, your work, your savings account, like the effect is so much larger.
How do you recognise, drawing that line between social drinking and something that's more dangerous?
Letitia, I appreciate you and I love you very much, but if you don't go and start really having a look at what's happening in your life, unfortunately, I need to start looking at mine and start protecting my space.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Smile the Makeover Scoop. Before we get into today's chat, I just want to preface by saying that this is going to be a little bit heavier than our usual content, but also incredibly important. We'll be talking about addiction, recovery, mental health, and the journey of rebuilding lives. So just a reminder that if anything we cover today feels overwhelming, please contact a GP or a medical professional. My guest today is Edward Handley, the CEO and founder of HARP Private Rehab, also known as Hills and Ranges Private. It's one of Victoria's most respected rehab centres, known for its holistic, discreet and luxury approach to recovery. Ed, welcome to the pod.
Thank you, Letitia.
I'm so excited that you're here, and this is a really important conversation that we're going to have today.
Yep.
Part of the reason why we do this platform is to educate people, and we talk a lot about fun stuff on here, beauty, smile makeovers, all that sort of stuff. But we want to hear from you because the work that you do is very important. Your rehab centre isn't just built on research and strategy, right?
Correct.
It's built on lived experience.
Right.
So can you tell me a bit about your personal journey and what has gotten you to this moment?
Yeah, for sure. It comes from a selfish position for myself, where I think I was quite young in my stages of trying to be an adult and trying to figure out what that meant. And there was a little bit of self-discovery in doing that research and how can I better my mental health. Understanding what I was suffering from was somewhat a low-level addiction, trauma, everything and anything, but didn't really have the right tools to understand what that meant. So, I reached out to try and get that help, and I thought I was reaching out to the best places in Melbourne. And I was just surprised with the level of care that we were given. And I thought there was room for improvement. And that's where it just came from. It was there can be room for improvement in this industry, because I believe a lot of the failures that were happening were not because of the patients themselves, was that it was a system that was failing them. So then I built my own team. Like I built my own team to work on me.
Wow.
And then I branched that out with my late partner, Raya, through that process of, well, why don't we look into getting into this mental health space? And then the question just asked, I think we were 21 and 25, and that question was asked: how does someone own a hospital? And that's
really
what we did.
young.
That was the question. Yeah,
Wow.
at 25, we were asking, how do we own a hospital? And that's where it started.
Most people are still clubbing at 25.
Yeah.
And you're wondering how you got to own a hospital. That's huge.
And it was a simple question, which ended up going a very, very far way. Yeah.
Wow. I want to talk about HARP itself. And when I was looking up the space, the setting alone is enough to make anyone want to check in. My question to you is, if you have a spare room, I would love to come and live there, because it honestly looks like a 5-star resort.
Right.
You've got these beautiful spas and pool, and even the location itself. You're in the middle of the Dandenong Ranges, this beautiful lush rainforest away from the hustle and bustle of Melbourne, right? It's just gorgeous. What is the philosophy behind HARP?
Well, get well in a well space, right? Like remove the white walls and lab coats.
Yeah.
Create an environment which creates, creates longevity, right? Like create an environment which people want to be in, and perhaps people will stay. Get well in a well space, remove the lab coats, the white walls, the lab coats, and still offer that clinical setting, that clinical approach, but not in a clinical setting, and see how that goes, where we're combining hospitality, with rehabilitation. And my thought process too, again, coming from, what I wanted was like, well, I would like to do rehab at the Ritz-Carlton. And that's really what I thought. I was like, how can I do this? Can we do this? Can we provide a Ritz-Carlton setting, have psychologists, doctors, nurses, the works around you at the same time and see what that does? Yeah, it's beautiful. It's lovely. Besides the fact that it's a mental health facility, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know.
And many facilities, I think it's fair to say, rely heavily on medication, right? But you guys take a more holistic approach.
Correct.
As you said. You blend clinical and therapeutic. Yep. Can you tell me a little bit more about what sorts of therapeutic things you offer? Yeah.
I think, and it's also about taking time too. Like there's a time element to recovery with mental health, which you can't speed up. So it's not the more medications you enter or prescribe, or the more psychiatrists you see, or the more psychologists you see, or more doctors you see means you get better faster. There is that time element. And with that time element, we have to be very conscious about retention. And with that retention, what do we do with that time? So we thought with that time, and let's combine clinical and therapeutic. And the therapeutic elements range from everything from day spa accesses where, massages, facials, hot stones, Reiki, acupuncture, mindfulness, meditation, yoga, equine therapy. We have horses, there's sound bathing, you name it, we've got it, and there's spas, saunas, there's trail riding. We're building a pickleball court as we speak right now, and there's a lot, and that's a part of the environment that we're setting too. It's that there's only so much clinical therapy you can do in a day, and our clinical therapists are one of the best around the world. We definitely vouch for that. That's the bread and butter to what we do. At the same time, when you're not in therapy, you may as well be in a nice place, which is going to be an asset to that clinical setting. Yeah. It's fabulous.
And I think in that way, you're almost treating the whole person, right? You're not just treating the addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because that would just have huge impacts on your entire being and self. I'm curious, how many people on average do you treat in the facility? How many people come through the doors every month?
We are quite unique in a way. We're acceptance upon assessment basis. It's not an open door forum. And I guess the question and the questions that come from a lot of people is, well, then, like, who is allowed this treatment? And it's not a question of who is or isn't allowed this treatment. It's that we are interested in success, and we believe that there is a type of clientele or level of mental health where people can have heightened levels of success. And we have to understand that in a number of our facilities, that there are other patients being treated there. So what we need to do is make sure that we're creating an environment which is going to be conducive to the other patients that are there. There's no use having someone there that is 110% invested in being there, and then another patient that's there that's being thrown in by their family that doesn't want to be there, right? It's sort of like that rotten egg that's in there. So what we do is we have a really strict assessment process that goes through, Joshua, our head of admissions, to do pre-qualifying questions to see if they fit. We can't help everyone. We don't have unlimited beds as much as we want to, help everyone. Realistically, we need to help the people that can be helped. We have a number of facilities, and they do treat a different level and number of clientele. So your general admin facilities treat up to 14 patients per month. Your more premium facilities, which is our C-suite clientele, so CEOs, executives, athletes, actors, they go to our sassafras facility. We only accept 4 patients per month there. And then we have what we call sort of like our uber wealthy clientele, and they're typically families of around the world, where they do have an option where it's either at Montreal Estate, where they get a private housing estate, up in the Dandenong Ranges as well, or they do have access to one of our 4 private yachts that we do treatment on, and they're staffed, 28 staffed, 14 on, 14 off at any given time, 1 family on at a time. There's just there's different levels, right? But it's definitely not a blanket approach recovery system. We don't just phone rings, throw people in. We want to make sure that if we believe that we can help you, that phone rings, you go through those pre-qualifying questions and assessments. If we can say, yep, we can work with you, we are almost guaranteeing you that there is success if you apply yourself.
And what are some of those things in that assessment process that you're asking people?
one, purpose and meaning behind the question, like why are you calling up? Like I think that's a really big thing. A lot of people are on the brink of losing families, careers, finances, houses, children, right? And if you have those purpose and meaningful attributes behind you, you are more likely to fight to survive. If you're unfortunately, say 18, no job, mummy and daddy's feeding you, you haven't really had any responsibilities, you haven't worked, the chances of you wanting to really fight for a new life is unfortunately quite low, you know. So there is a lot of maturity that goes into that right treatment. And we like to say we're quite a mature facility. Typically our patients are 30 plus, they hover around that 40 to 50. It's a really, really nice setting to do that.
And in terms of how long people are generally at the facility, is there a kind of a certain time frame that you guys work towards? How does that work?
The run-of-the-mill places would say, you know, there's 30 to 90-day programs. That's very common. We would say your assessment is based around how you can complete the curriculum. So HARP is Australia's only mental health facility with an accredited curriculum involved. So it's not just about coming into the facility to see psychologists, psychiatrists, do one-on-one work. There's actually a book, so a curriculum which has been hand-created by Raya and our psychologists. It's the Bible, and I was going to bring it to show, it's the Bible into getting well. It's a self-authoring program, five units, 28 modules that you go through, and this program really begins to what we call bring back the essence, like relay the foundations. We can only rebuild once we reset that foundation again. And this is what this curriculum does. And our goal is to make sure that you are healthy enough physically and mentally to go through this this curriculum in a timely manner. So if there is acute phasing, detoxing that's needed, that's taken into consideration. If there's not, that's taken into consideration. Your average stay you see is about 6 weeks. That is sort of the sweet spot. Your minimum stay is 28 days. When I say that's enough time, probably not. That 6 weeks is a really nice mark. That's 6 to 8 weeks. Anything beyond that, look, that's for your quite severe cases. But 6 to 8 weeks is a beautiful place.
And for people that are coming into the rehab centre, what types of addictions are we talking about?
Stock standard, alcohol. Alcohol is your biggest one. Okay. I think when we talk about addiction, our heads go to like hard drugs straight away. Believe it or not, the biggest killer and the biggest thing that's inhibiting a lot of people in Australia is alcohol. Is 80% of what we treat, alcohol addiction. And then with alcohol addiction, you get your secondary substances, right? There's the classic Scotch and cocaine diets, you know. So you got stimulant use is your next one. So cocaine and ice, followed then by like depressant stuff. So prescription medications, heroin's actually quite low. But it's mainly alcohol and stimulant use is what we treat. That's the low-lying fruit though. That have an understanding of what that means is people call up to say that's their problem. We tell them that's their solution to their problem. Their actual problem is a mental health issue.
Sure.
And what they're doing is that they're gravitating towards a solution which takes them away from their mental health issue. Alcohol is a really great solution for that because it really takes you away from your problems. Same with drugs. Unfortunately, it doesn't solve them. So what ends up happening is it kind of amplifies over time. It's like not only have you not fixed your original problem, you've picked up a drinking problem. And that's when you sort of hit rock bottom is what they say. But the low-lying fruits of substances, what they're really treating is mental health.
And many people, I think, assume that rehab ends within a certain time frame, right? But is it true to say that you continue counselling and support long after when people return home? Why is that step so critical?
Well, it's about creating your board of directors post your stay. I think we invest in ourselves in so many other areas. It's like, do you have a business mentor, a family mentor, schooling? Like there's all these other things that we invest in. One of the things you probably need to invest in is like your mental health board of directors, and that's what we do. We put a board of directors together for our patients that are exiting, and there is different levels of that for them depending where they are in their recovery. But that could be everything from an addiction coach, which is checking up on them every day. Not a lot. Like it can simply be a 5 to 10 minute call every morning, mixed in with an hour therapy session during the week and an hour psychology session as well. We also have a really beautiful app called HARP Plus, which does complete tracking of the patient too. So what we can do is then we can take their health snippets, everything from their Oura rings to their whoops, that's then been given back to our clinicians. And that helps us to track them and set alerts, right? So if we're setting targets on health and wellness around, hey, let's focus on getting 10,000 steps up, or heart rate elevations or strains at X amount, and we're seeing that they're not reaching them, perhaps they're laying in bed and maybe they're not doing the right things, and alerts get sent off. There is virtual check-ins and AI cancelling that they do online and through this app as well, which just helps us receive this information live
in real time,
for then alerts if there is any red flags that are being alerted, for then those alerts to go out to their clinicians to check up, and that really holds us ultimately responsible for their recovery, and not just them responsible for their recovery. You know, we want to take the onus to making sure that their recovery is successful completely.
I think a lot of people think that rehab is a one and done sort of approach, right? But realistically, in your experience, how common is relapse, and how do you help people prepare for that reality without them losing hope?
I mean, relapse does not have to be a part of your story. That is the truth. Relapse is a part of a lot of people's story, and I believe relapse does happen with a number of variations where they're not ready mentally themselves, they're not applying themselves, the foundations haven't been set correctly, the help that they're getting is not correct. I think our job is to minimise those factors to making sure that relapse does not have to be part of your story. I've always said HARP's program, HARP's curriculum is 100% flawless. I can vouch for that. It's flawless. And it's not coming from an arrogant angle. It's coming from the fact that it is completely flawless, and there's only one issue with the program. That would be the patient. But if I talk to the patient and I say, you apply yourself, you do the work, I can guarantee you will be flawless too. There's no hidden secrets. The problem with mental health and the industry that we're in, especially in the government-run facilities, is that it's somewhat a guessing game. It's like, oh, you need to go do rehab 2, 3, 4 times before you get it, or they just didn't want it, or so on and so forth. It really doesn't have to be. You know, if we are providing a curriculum and a program and a model for success for them to follow, and it is flawless, there's no reasons why, if they follow it, 1 + 1 is 2. So it is there for them. It's just about making sure they can apply themselves to it.
I want to zoom out a bit because addiction isn't just an individual problem, as you said, right? It is a national one. And the numbers in Australia are staggering. The Department of Health has found that 1 in 6 Australians have a drug addiction and 1 in 10 have an alcohol addiction, right? That's huge. Given, yes, we are a small population, but still quite high. From your experience, let's just go back to the bare bones. What are some of the common factors that contribute to addiction?
I think trauma is the underlying one. Like, that's it. We don't have to make it too complicated to understand where it's coming from, and it's unresolved trauma. We talk about generational trauma as something that you hear. Generational trauma is really just unresolved trauma handed down. Monkey see, monkey do. We live in a time right now where education is at its highest, where we are able to understand who we are, why we are the way we are, a lot faster. The help is more readily available to you than ever before as well. We can't lay blame on our parents or our grandparents for the subconscious traumas that they laid upon us, that programming. It's like, Letitia, you do things a certain way because your mum and dad did a certain way to you. And the reason why your mum handed that to you was because your grandma and grandpa handed that to your parents, right? So it really comes from just an understanding point of view and having that compassion for others. Like when I find myself in any difficult situation or seeing anyone playing out their traumas, it's not necessarily like, that's just the way you are. It's like, I can understand. I can understand how you react that way. But going back to the addiction, people using drugs, people using alcohol, again, the solution to the problem, it's because we're not talking about the problem, and that problem being trauma. That's one of the biggest things that people are missing. And also stigma. Right? Like, stigma is stopping a lot of people from getting help. It's like, and people stigmatize themselves. People are like, oh, I don't need it. It's like, oh, you just like what you are doing there is stopping yourself from getting the best help that not only you will receive, but it's a lot bigger than you. Like there's this whole altruistic perspective to mental health treatment that people really don't understand. It's a bit like a pebble in the pond analogy. We throw this pebble in this recovery pebble into the pond, and this ripple effect is really a lot bigger than you can see. Not only does it help you in the middle, the immediate people of your partner, your children, your immediate family, your work, your savings account. Hey, the guy that's at the red light that accidentally cut you off, like you don't yell at them either. Like the effect is so much larger if we have better education on trauma responses.
I think the point around stigma is really, really true. And I think people do tend to see addiction as a weakness or a bad behavior, but it is, it is going back to your point, it's a mental health illness, right? That's really where it stems from. For anyone who has someone who's struggling in their life, what's the best way to support them and what should they not do?
I mean, boundaries. Just because they're suffering from mental health issues, I need to stress enough, nobody is responsible for another adult. As an adult, you are only responsible for yourself, okay? And the only way you can help other people is by putting in healthier boundaries for yourself. So if you are in a relationship or you are unfortunately a part of a circle where things are not healthy, you can implement your boundaries in line with that individual, and they will soon see that, hang on a second, the circle that I had is not really a circle anymore. It's a square, and now it's a line, and it's nothing. People are shutting off to me. But it's about having healthy boundaries. And it's also about tough love. Like, I'm not saying healthy boundaries means tough love. It's like, hey, if you don't go and address your mental health, like, we're out of here. It's not that. It's like, it can come from a compassionate point of view. It's like, Letitia, I appreciate you and I love you very much. But if you don't go and start really having a look at what's happening in your life, unfortunately, I need to start looking at mine and start protecting my space. That's a better angle to go at it. It's the same outcome, just not so harsh.
Yeah, approaching with compassion, definitely. Going back to your point around drinking, I think part of the challenge in Australia is the culture, right? Drinking is so ingrained in Australian life. And when I was prepping for this episode, I was thinking even just experiences in my personal life. You know, we finish work on a Thursday or Friday. Where do you think everyone is, right? They're at the pub across the road. Drinking starts at 4, doesn't finish till 1 or 2 in the morning. You know, then you go to a family barbecue on a Sunday and you're having beers and having drinks. Now, I think for some it can be harmless, but for others it can be a slippery slope. So how do you recognise, you know, drawing that line between social drinking and something that's more dangerous?
Is it making you fall short of your potential? And that even talks about the next day. Like, did you have a potential on Saturday which you wanted to fulfill that now you're not because you're affected by your decisions on the previous day? It can start as small as that. It doesn't have to get to the point where, oh, hang on a second, my wife left me. I am losing my house. I am in arrears in my payments. How did this all happen? It's like, well, I can tell you where it happened. It's like there was this time where it was brought to your attention. You didn't rock up to work on this day because of your drinking. You had a fight with your partner because that incident there you didn't mow the lawns because you were too hungover. Like there is a lot of external feedback that gives, but you know, like a lot of the real Aussie blokes out there, and I come from it. You know, like I wasn't brought up in a wealthy household. You know, like I'm born and bred. I'm a Ferntree Gully boy, and I worked my way up, and I worked very hard to not have the life that I experienced. That's all I remember. I just remember like sitting there in my house in Ferntree Gully, being like, as a child, right? Like, and one of those things was like, I'll never hit my children was one of those things because I used to get abused a lot. I'm like, I'll never hit my children, and I don't want to be here, you know. And for me, all I knew was like the Australian house, the barbecue going, Dad with the Crown Lagers, the footy on, the sound of the lawnmower going. Like that's what we were brought up on. Is it nostalgic? Yeah, somewhat. Like you look back at it and you go, there were some good times there. Of course there were. You know, do we overshadow those good times and sort of ignore the bad times? Perhaps we do. But now we live in a society which moves so fast, and there is a lot of betterment, and that's probably a whole nother conversation to have, is like this movement on betterment. I believe this movement on betterment is going to the extreme. It's almost an addiction, right? Like, it's like, how many ways can you hold your breath upside down and breathe 3 times? And run? Like, there's this whole movement of that as well, which we have to be very careful about too, because I think the next stage of this betterment is like slowing down, you know, and this is a big part of treating mental health, is like, if you're not proactively running in the wrong direction and you actually, you sit, you stay still, you absorb, you're moving in the right direction. We don't necessarily need to be doing 101 things of betterment to be improving ourselves. As long as we're not doing the wrong thing, you know, that's okay. There's a bit of contentment in that, and there's peace in that. I'm not going to talk on behalf of the Australian community of like what we should and shouldn't do, you know, but all I can say is that if people are not reaching their full potential because of substances, be it alcohol, then perhaps that's a talking point that needs to be had.
I've never really thought of it like that, but it's a good point that you make. It's like, if you can't get up the next day to do the things that you need to do, whether it's taking the kids to school, and I've heard of this from, you know, friends who've had parents who were alcoholics as well, and they grew up with that. That's, I think it comes back to that. It's enough. Yeah. And also that alcohol puts you at a much higher risk of disease and death, right? You're just shortening your life expectancy too. I want to talk a bit about the impact on the healthcare system, because obviously public healthcare systems in Australia are under huge demand, especially with, you know, mental health support. I guess, why does private rehabilitation play such an important role in the broader health? I mean,
if you ask the government that, they would say it doesn't.
Say no. But I'm asking you.
Well, it does, because when we privatise something, I believe the opportunity to improve the industry is there. That's the reason why people should go into business, right? So if we go into any industry, be it dental, you want to hope the dentist that's working on your teeth is doing it to be and to do the best that they can. Now, when we go into the private sector of healthcare, the private sector of healthcare is definitely focused around results and quality, not quantity. Right now, the public system, the government system, is about statistics and quantity. It's like, we've treated 5 million people. We won't talk about how we did it, but that's how many we did, right? But quality, right? The private sector is about quality over quantity. It's about making sure that they have time too, right? Time's so important with the right people, with clinicians. I know of some people that have come into our facilities and like, well, they went to so-and-so public facility. They see a psychologist for literally 10 minutes a week. And the psychologist so under the pump, it's like knocking the door, how you doing, you good? They'll go through, they'll do the DAS mental health assessment. Okay, they'll qualify and say, look, this guy's not going to commit suicide or hurt himself today. I can go to the next person, right? It's not a high risk, and that's all I'm aiming for. Perhaps that's not working. I can tell it's not working, right? So the private sector, and being mindful, right? Like every sector, you have to be careful of the private sector too. You have to ask the right questions. This is one of the biggest things that I talk about our admissions teams, is just make sure that when we're talking to people asking us the questions, we tell them, please ask as many as you can. We want to make sure that you feel 110% confident in what you're doing, because in the private sector, you're paying for it. And you're paying for the results. You're not paying for the name. Who cares? You want to make sure that there's a result at the end. You want to do this once, you do it properly, ask the right questions, find the right place, and do it once and do it properly.
I think we can't have a conversation about addiction today without talking about the pandemic, because COVID-19 changed daily routines. It isolated people. It kind of created this perfect storm for a lot of unhealthy coping mechanisms, right? In May 2020, the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare shared that 1 in 5 Australians reported drinking more alcohol after COVID began. Did you see that increase firsthand with people drinking more during COVID?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we started this process back in 2018 was when we were creating HARP. 2019 is when it came together. March of 2020, I still remember it, March of 2020 when COVID hit, we were essentially going from a place which was we were trying to find our feet to like, you need to know what you're doing right now. And we were full. And we have never not been full since. It went from 1 small facility to 2 facilities to 3 facilities. And it's, you know, I think our numbers went from increased by 100% to 200%, by 400% to 800% in a matter of years. The growth was huge, and something that I didn't foresee coming. But COVID did a couple of things. COVID made mental health trend too, right? So it wasn't all doom and gloom. Like it was, yes, everyone's low-lying fruit came to the surface, but just because it wasn't at the surface already didn't mean it wasn't there. All that COVID did was it brought it to the surface, and then COVID started the conversation. If we can try and pull a positive out of COVID, which is very hard, it started that conversation of like, hey, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm not exactly who I thought I was. Yeah. That was a question that was probably just going around. It's like, am I this person? Am I a person that drinks at home? Am I a person that now sneaks drugs? Am I a person that's questioning myself? Am I a person that's unhappy? These were the questions that were starting to happen at home, and the solitude of COVID, especially through that Andrew's government process, was huge, right? And it started that conversation, and we definitely saw HARP go skyrocket through that.
Are you still seeing the ripple effects of COVID in people's drinking and drug use habits?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And it will never ever. I shouldn't say it will never ever. No, I probably say it will never ever go the other way, unfortunately, right? Because there is not enough facilities like ours being corrected or funded for it to turn around. And what's happening is people aren't necessarily getting unhealthier. That's not the case. What the case is that people are actually more mindful of it. So like statistically, people were already drinking and abusing drugs like this already.
Yeah.
All that's happened now is people know about it. And people are getting more help about it. So mental health is trending. We've got to be very careful about that too, right? Because it's really cool to have a problem is a problem. And we need to be mindful about that too. It's like, don't sit in the poor me's. That's really a really strong no to not do. It's like, okay, I'm identifying I'm not where I'm meant to be, but I can turn this around. But yeah, it's a trending thing, and that trend will evolve into new trends in mental health. But our goal has always been to reduce that stigma, to actually be like, I went to rehab. Like you could go and sit down with your family and go, hey, I went to rehab, and it's fine. And people are like, oh, good on you.
Yeah.
You went to rehab, you addressed your stuff, awesome. Not like, I went to rehab, and they're like, you did?
And it's mind-boggling, I think, that why there is still, to this day, given everything that's happened, we talk about, mental health being at the forefront of conversation, why there is still people who screw their nose up when people talk about rehab. It's just sad. And this is why these conversations are important, to try and shift that narrative. We've spoken a lot about alcohol, but I do want to talk about the rise of recreational drugs among young Australians. Now, festivals, parties, nightlife, I think a lot of the time it's brushed off as this kind of normal fun. And fun fact about me, I love EDM and techno music. Yeah. So I go to a lot of festivals, events. Good. But part of that means that I'm often surrounded by people 95% of people are off their rocker, right? And as the only sober person in the room, it can sometimes be really daunting. Okay. I've been to festivals where I've, seen people firsthand overdose, friends trying to get medical help for their mates. Why do you think that drug use is rising so much among younger people?
It goes back to information is so much more readily available now. So when we were back in school, I think we were only introduced like mobile phones when we were maybe in high school, and that was like a 3315, Nokia 3315.
Good old little Nokias.
Right? and we couldn't, there was no way of us Googling or YouTubing or starting group chats or having trends or TikToks or all these things. Technology has predominantly, and always will be, I believe, majority of the time, be used for the greater good. That's true. Unfortunately, through vulnerable people, it can be used as an information tool to perhaps lead them down the wrong path. Does that mean that they were always that was never going to happen to them if that wasn't the case? Who knows, right? Perhaps all that really did was to speed up that process again of them getting introduced into it. But children have access to more information than ever. And unfortunately, that doesn't just mean good information. That means bad information. That means drug information. That means party scenes. That means, did you see what Sally did last week?
Yeah.
Did you see what Bob did the other week before? And that's why it's really important that we do address the family tree. Like you can only change one person at a time, and that's yourself only. Right? So as long as we're putting that education out to the people that are readily available to receiving that, and that's the parents first and foremost. The parents are leading by example. The children follow that, and children are just a pure reflection of their parents. And the question then begs to ask is like, how much of that is nature? How much of that is nurture? Right? And time again, it's been proven that nurture over nature succeeds all the time. If you take a baby away from a hostile, toxic, abusive household when they're quite little, put them in a nurturing household, that baby statistically is going to have a better chance at a successful and happy life. It starts at home. Right, so we can look at the big grand scheme of the picture of, you know, like the youth of Australia is under threat. I would bring it back to basics, right? Keep it simple and say, well, what are you doing in your family home to reduce that? Because that's where it starts, and it starts at the head, right? The fish rots at the head. Mum and dad need to lead by example, and that's where that education needs to be pointed towards.
Yeah, and if you come from a European family, it's just a lot of slippers thrown across the room,
right.
and you know not to touch drugs and alcohol, so that's for sure. How do you think, though, treatment models need to evolve to keep up with this growing trend, and particularly to protect and to help the youth? Because I know that obviously your rehab centre focuses a lot on 30 plus, but how do you think those treatment models need to evolve?
It's funny because the Australian government views our treatment model as, what's the word they say? They say it's ahead of its time, right? Not proven, but ahead. Not wrong, but not proven, right? And this is the problem. Things happen so slowly in governments, and one of those things is updating what treatment looks like, right? So they could have a treatment for cancer a certain way. We could have found a better way to treat cancer, but it takes years for them to pass those things through. That thing is applied to mental health too. There are better ways to treat mental health. Unfortunately, getting these bills and legislations passed through and how to do that takes an awful amount of time. And that's where you hit a brick road between the success in public systems, the success in private systems, the accreditations, we've heard it all before, right? Again, you can only do what we can do, and we make sure that what we provide gives everyone the best chance of success if they come into our facility. I can't speak for anyone else. I'd love to, but it's a really difficult and sensitive situation.
For sure. I actually listened to another podcast that you did with Jack Hodgkins, and you posed a really deep question, which just made me think. You said, what is the point of life? I love the way, though, that you talk about, obviously, recovery being, making small steps every day. It's not some huge overnight fix, but I think that can also apply to life more generally. It's like ending each day in a slightly better place than where you started. And I wanted to share that with everyone today.
That's because that podcast I did a few years ago.
You did do a few years ago.
I still remember saying that, yeah.
But I loved what you said, and I think that it doesn't matter what your experience is on this earth, that we can all, end each day in a slightly better place than where we started.
That's right. And that's the goal. The goal is like, what is the point of life?
Yeah.
Because we're here, we're doing it. And I ask that question a lot to people.
Yeah.
What do you think the point of life is? And
it's a big question.
Big question.
Yeah.
Right? What's the point of life? Yeah. And you get all the answers, right? Oh, to have fun, to have fun, to enjoy, to have experiences. And I'm like, I get that. Maybe that's the bonus of it too. But perhaps our goal and our duty in life is to, we entered it when we did at our time. And by the time we leave here, I think it's everyone's obligation to make sure that they play their part, to make sure they improved it themselves. And if you've done that, then perhaps that's the definition of living life properly. Because it's a huge question. What is the point of it all?
Yeah,
what matters?
That's right. We have a closing tradition on this podcast where every guest has to do a round of rapid fire Q&A questions. I have 10 for you here. Are you ready?
Go.
Okay. Question number 1. If you weren't running HARP, what would you be doing?
Be a commercial pilot.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're into planes.
That's what I was doing originally.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. What is your favourite Aussie slang word? Keep it PG, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know. You're right. I don't know.
If you could be one Marvel character, who would you be?
Don't know because I never watched Marvels.
At all?
There you go. There's a funny one.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Next one. What's one thing you're really bad at?
Spelling.
Okay.
Yeah, I was talking about it with my psychologist yesterday about I still can't spell. After everything that I do, I still can't spell. So that's one thing.
Were you not great at spelling in school?
Never.
No. Okay.
Thank God for chat.
What's your favourite meal to cook?
That's a good one. I like doing hibachi. That's nice.
Yeah, nice.
If you set it up outside, nice sunny day, take your time, make it an experience.
Beautiful.
That's a good one.
Love that. What is the best concert you've ever been to? You into music?
Maybe, I don't know, Taylor Swift in Sydney was probably
okay, that's a good one. That is a great one.
That was a highlight.
For sure. What is the last show you've binge watched? Is there a show that you're currently watching that you're binge watching?
Yeah, I did just binge watch, is it Love is Blind?
Okay.
Yeah, that's the new one that came out. I know I do not watch those things. I don't watch these things, and I pretty much ran out of things, and then it sucked me in, so it got me.
It is a bit addictive. I have seen it.
It got me.
What is the most ridiculous purchase you've ever made?
Most ridiculous purchase. I mean, there's been a few. I bought a McLaren once that I had never test driven, and I didn't really know what it was. It was coming from Perth, and it got delivered to my house, and it was so embarrassing because I didn't know how to open the door.
Of the McLaren.
Yeah, so then it started. Then I had to try and call people to try and help me open my car and turn it on. But that was a really spontaneous buy, and it only lasted about 6 months before I got rid of it. So
what colour was it?
Black.
And the model?
It was a 570S Spider.
Lovely. Yep. Okay. What is the best gift you've ever received?
I mean, my 2 children. Yeah.
How old are your little ones?
They are
maybe not so little.
6 and 8. One's
6 and 8.
9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Girl, boy.
2 girls.
2 girls. Yeah. Oh my goodness, you're a girl dad.
I'm a girl dad.
I love that.
I'm a girl dad.
And the last question: if your younger self could see you now, what would they say?
My younger self could see me. I knew it. I knew you would do it. I don't know. There was always a drive. When I was younger, I always had the drive to do something impactful, and I didn't know exactly what that would look like. But yeah, it would probably be, you're doing the right thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
Ed, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Such an important conversation. It was great to have you in person to chat.
Appreciate it.
Episodes will be released every Thursday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Smile the Makeover Scoop. Please don't forget to hit that follow button. Make sure you leave us a review. It only takes 30 seconds, but it makes a massive difference to the show. We will catch you guys next week, and bye for now. This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice. Please consult with a professional for specific advice tailored to your situation.